Expressing a fraction as a decimal. To convert a fraction into a decimal, divide the numerator by the denominator. So remember, in a fraction, the top number is called the numerator and the bottom number is the denominator. The line separating them, we sort of say is over, but another way to think about it is divide. So really, all we need to do is set this out as a division and go into decimal places, and that'll be our job done. So if we've got 1 and we're dividing it by 2, put in a few decimal places if we're not sure what it's going to be. So 2 goes into 1, well it doesn't, it goes 0 times, so we have to carry the 1. And then we're saying, well, how many 2's go into 10? And the answer there is 5. And there's none left over, so it's just going to be 0 and a big long string of zeros. And we should know that in a way, obviously, that a half is 0.5. In example 14, express 3/7 as a decimal to 2 decimal places. So again, what we need to do is we need to do 3 divided by 7. I'm going to put in a number of decimal places, and then we see how many 7's go into 3, so that's 0. And we need to carry the 3. We see how many 7's go into the 30, and that's 4, so 4 7's are 28, and that's carrying 2. 7 into 20 goes twice, so 2 7's are 14, and carry a 6. And then 7 into 60 goes 8 times, and we don't need to worry about a remainder. That's as far as we need to go. So here it said that we were wanting to go towards 2 decimal places. So what we need to do, we need to go to an extra decimal place, so that we need to consider rounding errors. So had we just stopped at 2 decimal places, we would have thought that the answer would have been 0.42. But because the next number is an 8, and an 8 means to round up, our answer to 2 decimal places is actually 0.43, because the 8 means round up. So say, had we just gone to 2 decimal places, so we wouldn't have known about the 8, we'd have just had 0.42. But by going 1 extra place, we see that the number's an 8, so that means we need to round up. Now, it doesn't make a massive big difference to the number. 0.42 and 0.43 are very similar, but in maths, we're all about accuracy. So by going to that 1 extra space, so 2 decimal places, we're going to do working out to 3, we can see about rounding. And that's going to be the same for any of these. So anytime we're asked to go to a certain level of rounding, we always go to 1 extra decimal place. Example 15. So again, what we can see here is that it says to 2 decimal place. So when we're working out, we're going to go to an extra decimal place. So that means we're going to go to 3 decimal places. So 35 over 9 is 35 divided by 9. So we're going to put 35 and the 9 outside. I'm going to go to 3 decimal places because that's how far we need to go. And then we see, well, how many 9's go into 3? Well, that's 0. And carry a 3. 9 into 35 goes 3 times. So 3 9's are 27. And then that's a remainder of 8. We then do 9 into 80. And that's going to be 8 times. So 9 8's are 72. And that's a remainder of 8 again. 9 into 80 goes 8. With a remainder of 8. 9 into 80 goes 8 with a remainder of 8. But we don't need to go any further. We've gone to our 3 decimal places. So to 3 decimal places, the answer is 3.888, which whenever we're rounding, the 8 means we'll round up. So the answer then to 2 decimal places is 3.89 to 2 decimal places. A summary diagram then of a conversion between all 3. To get from a fraction to a decimal, so that's just what we've been looking at. What we do is we divide it out. So you divide the numerator, so the top number, by the denominator, the bottom number. To get from a decimal to a percentage, what you do is you multiply by 100. And to get from a percentage to a fraction, you write it as a fraction out of 100. To get from a fraction to percentage, we multiply by 100 and 100 over 1, and that will make life a little bit easier. So right as 100 over 1 will make life a bit easier so that you can then simplify fractions and multiply that way. To get from a percentage to decimal, you just divide by 100. And to get from a decimal to a fraction, what we do is you write it as a fraction over 10, 100 or 1,000, whatever the place value goes to. So example 16, we're going to use some of those techniques. To get from a decimal to a fraction, so we've got 0.56. The place value headings there on the 5 would be a tenth and the 6 would be a hundredth. So 0.56 is going to be 56 over 100. And we can simplify that. We can divide top and bottom by 2 first of all to get 28 over 50. And we could divide by 2 again to get 14 over 25. As a percentage, to get from a decimal to percentage, you multiply by 100, and 0.56 multiplied by 100 is going to be 56%. Fraction to a decimal, so a quarter, we divide that out, so 1 divided by 4. So 4 into 1 doesn't go, we carry a 1, 4 into 10 goes twice, remainder 2, 4 into 20 goes 5, and that goes evenly, so there's no remainder, so the answer is 0.25. And then to get that into percentage, we multiply by 100, so that's going to be 25%. 150% to a decimal, we divide by 100, so that's going to be 1.5. And then to get a decimal into a fraction, so this is 1 whole and 5 tenths, which would be 1.5. Or as a top-heavy fraction, that would be 3 halves. Because there are 2 halves in 1, and then that's going to be a total of 3 halves. 1.05, so that's going to be 1 whole, and then the place value headings, we've got 0 tenths and 5 hundredths, so it's 1 and 5 hundredths. And that simplifies to 1 and 1/20th, which is a top-heavy fraction, would be 21/20ths. To change 1.05 into percentage, we multiply by 100, and that's going to be 105%. 11 over 5, to change that into a decimal, we divide it out, so we do 11 divided by 5. So 5 into 1 doesn't go, so 0 and carry the 1. 5 into 11 goes twice, remainder 1, so put in the decimal point and carry the 1. And 5 into again, 10 goes twice, so the answer there is 2.2. And then to get it into a percentage, multiply the decimal by 100, and you get 220%. To change 0.021 into a fraction, so thinking about the place value, we've got no tenths, we've got 2 hundredths and 1 1,000th. So we go with the greatest one there, so that was thousandths. So it's going to be 21 over 1,000. And that can't be simplified down, so that's the answer. And then we multiply by 100. So for that, so that's changing a decimal into percentage, we move the decimal point twice. And that's going to go between the 2 and the 1. So we get 2.1% there for the last one. And now you're ready to try these questions on page 73 from the old textbook or 75 from the new one.